Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 3. Today we have lovely Natalie with us, and she's based in Washington, and she is a herbalist. So we've been having a little chat already, and she's been telling me some stuff, but we had to stop because it was getting too interesting. So, basically, welcome, Natalie. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And I
I'm
know
very
it's
excited.
really early for you, isn't it, as well? So I am sorry that we had to get you up really early to do this because of the time difference. But as I'm so excited to talk to you today. So can you tell me a bit about what you do and what you do that helps people as well? Because I'm sure that they'd love to know what you actually do working with herbs.
Yeah. So I have an apothecary and a wellness collective here in little Amboy, Washington, on the west coast of the US. And we here I like to work with plants in a intuitive way. So I walk through my shelves as someone walks in and tells me what they're going through. I walk through my shelves and my herbs actually speak to me because I work in a form of herbalism that is plant spirit medicine. So I have meditated with almost every single one of the herbs I have here. And I have met their spirit and recognize their frequency. And they actually do really call out to me and say, "Hey, I want to help her. I want to be part of this, you know." Like the other day, I was making a tea for a father who has a little girl who was, dealing with some of the lung thing, the congestion that's happening and going around right now,
Okay.
um, and normally I wouldn't necessarily throw rose hips in a lung based tea, but they were just asking me to jump in, and it was that like antioxidant quality,
Yeah.
and they kind of tell like, hey, it's this piece of me that I want to give to them, like that vitamin rich, more just to add a little bit of nourishment into it. So it's in that way that I work, as well as guiding people to connect with the plants themselves and the spirit of these herbs, and meditations and guided journeys. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner. So as I as I see clients and work through Reiki sessions, whether that is locally here or distance Reiki, which is also a really beautiful way to do this. I actually do also call on like specific spirits of specific herbs will come to me and be like, I really want to help, you know, like burdock comes a lot when there's like old stuck emotions that need to be pulled out, because burdock works in that way of like uh, of detoxing you, not only detoxing you, but also like helping you release not just the physical stuff toxins in your body, but also the emotional components around those as well that are holding those in place. And they actually help them rise up and out. And so different spirits come and different herbs call to me, and
Amazing.
it's a really beautiful process of like intuitively working with them, and really just trying to stay connected on like that deeper level of yes, the constituents, and the different like the different ways they work on the body, but also the way that they work with our spirits and help us. Another example is nettles. Nettles will help. She is so amazing and beautiful, and she will help you actually bring these unprocessed dreams that are just floating around in your unable to be rooted in and grounded into the earth. She will help them come down and
Yeah.
out. She helped me bring the my like swirling ideas of my farm and how I was going to build something that could be something more than just a medicinal herb farm, something that could be something bigger. I knew there was this calling in me to do something larger and something more spiritual, more powerful, for someone to come into. And it was early on in my plant spirit medicine, like education and like my journeys and my apprenticeships, that I was working with her, and she, like, there was an electrical current that went through me, and she came to me and just helped me pull it down out of the ethers, out of the dream state, out of this place where spirit was trying to give me this dream, and was, and my spirit was trying to pull it in. And she helped me actually move it out. And I was able to write out, like, and draw out my entire plan and write it out right afterwards, because it roots it into you. And so she has this lovely quality of, and that's not something you would think about nettles for necessarily, but it really does help bring that into your body and into your nervous system, able to come out of your fingers and out of your hands. And
that's interesting. What do you do? Just boil it?
I do a cold infusion. So with nettles, I like to do an overnight cold infusion. So you basically have dried nut, unless they're fresh, and then you do need to use hot water. And then I would do a hot water infusion. But when they're dried nettles, you would just put cold water I do a mason jar, a canning jar, and some nettles in the bottom, cold water, put a lid on, shake it up a little bit, let it sit overnight on your altar. And by the morning you can strain it out. It'll be lovely. And it tastes so good that way. It's sweeter. It has this almost like milk quality. For me personally, I could just chug it. And what that does is it keeps the minerals intact. When you use cold water, there's so many, like, nettles has so many minerals, and some of them are pretty delicate. So hot boiling water can be a little bit harsh on nettles. You can definitely use it that way. It'll still give you beautiful things, especially if you have it mixed in with other things that require hot water. But when you're just working with nettles directly, I would highly recommend an overnight, like, cold infusion.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that if you pick them, like, from the
so if you're picking fresh ones, you'll need to use at least warm water to be able to because it doesn't extract the same way. So if you're or you can just blanch them, and then I turn them into pesto. I mean, they're so good.
Wow, that's interesting.
You blanch them, then it takes the bite off of the sting, and you can eat them, and they're so good. It's like food medicine. It's like, it's nourishing to your body and soul. And so if you are picking fresh nettles in the spring, only pick them if they haven't gone to if they haven't bloomed. So once nettles have actually bloomed, or gone to flower, then they become quite harsh on your kidneys. So you can, a little bit won't hurt anything. Of course, one time is not going to hurt you, but they're really drying that way. And so if you picked a lot of nettles that were had already gone to flower, then they'll be just too drying on the system and could cause, like, some kidney stones if you drank a lot of it. But so you want to do it in the spring, or if you have some that are just, like, sometimes I can even in the late summer find little tiny patches of fresh ones that have just popped up somehow because they're in the deep forest or something. But if you're making sure you just take the top too, because then they'll proliferate and grow again. And then you're allowing them to continue on in their cycle. If you just take the top little section and, like, the first 2 leaves down, then you can actually, like, help them grow better. They'll actually create 2 different flower heads that way. And then you're actually helping them increase their yield rather than decrease. So, yeah.
Okay. So where would you get dried ones from?
Apothecaries have the dried nettles for sure. I mean, I ship them, but over to the UK, it might be a little bit of cost of shipping, where you can definitely find a local herb shop that would have nettles in it for sure, dried, or you can dry your own. They dry really quickly because the leaves are so thin. So it's really easy just to pop them in, the oven at, like, really low temperature with the wooden spoon in the door, so there's airflow.
Yeah. Oh,
And yeah, just like the warming setting in your oven on a sheet and with the wooden spoon cracking the door. You always want to do that when you're doing the drying.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought about dandelions. What about those?
Oh,
What are
dandelions
they
are
for?
beautiful. So dandelions are also a detoxifying plant. They will help us. Um, they're nourishing, and like the leaves, you can have the leaves in a salad and they will help
Yeah.
build like they're a nourishing herb in that way where they'll build you up. And then the roots are definitely help to detoxify the liver and the help with your gallbladder because they have a bit of a bitterness too, so they help with that bile production.
Yeah.
But the spirit of dandelion is this, like, for me it's like this fierce protection. Like I actually see it as this like bright shining light that like can clear you out. It pulls out the dark bits um out of the system. Like it's hard to explain that one because
I
I see
get
it as
you.
almost like an orb that would go through and kind of just
Yeah.
like pull out some of that, because it's this lovely resilient weed that
Mm.
some people will use like chemicals to try to kill. And you do want to get the most medicinal version of dandelion is the one that has the longer leaves with the big like sawtooth edges on it. The smaller ones that are in a lot of the yards that don't have the big sawtooth, those they kind of call them false. They still have like some medicinal qualities, but they're not as potent as. But the flowers on those are amazing for our bees, for our honeybees,
Yeah.
and they also are incredible in compost, and really help build up your compost. So,
Oh,
um, yeah. But dandelion comes is like this resilience. It creates resilience in the body because
mm.
it can help get rid of what you no longer need to hold. Again, similar to burdock, it's like that.
Yeah.
You don't need to hold these things. So it creates this like resilience in the body. And you see it in the way that you can chop the dandelion off and it'll just grow a little shorter, but it'll still be as bright and beautiful, like it'll be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to adapt to this situation and I can't have my leaves out like this right now. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
them in here, but I'm not, in no way is that going to stop me from growing and proliferating and,
Yeah.
put more of myself out in the world. Um,
God. And we can see you're in your place of work, aren't you? I can see
I
bottles
am,
and jars.
yeah. My apothecary behind me, and we have it's a little we're a little bit of a store. We have a few little things here and there, but mostly we're an apothecary and a Kangen water distribution center, and then we have our treatment room where other local practitioners can come and see their clients. So even if it's just once a month,
Yeah.
where they need a safe and professional place to see their clients, we created this space for them where they can just come and use our treatment room, and there's a massage table and all the things. And it's the idea of the North County Wellness Collective, which is where I have my apothecary, and this business that we created. It's the idea is to create a gathering space for this growing awakening in new ways of approaching the body, of the soul, the spirit, all of it, so that we have different events and workshops, and but the real core of it is to create a space for these budding practitioners, these people who are awakening to their gifts, to be
Mm.
able to come and grow their businesses, but also be able to like feel comfortable in stepping into this new calling that they've had. And we're kind of a stepping stone, so they can grow, and hopefully all of them go on to have their own full practices
Yeah.
somewhere. I mean, you
Yeah.
know
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's really a lovely space, um, and a beautiful connection point for our community. We do organic food drops here, and we're setting up a raw milk drop so that because here in the States everything is pasteurized, and and so the raw milk is actually harder to find. So
Yeah.
we have connections with local dairies where we can have raw milk
So you said
here.
you're a farm. What sort of farm?
So my farm is I call it Fehu Farm, and the apothecary is Fehu Farm Apothecary. But my farm is a 8-acre piece of land that was in my family for it's been in my family for over 100 years, but has been kind of forgotten. It was a mint field back in the day, and had the people that they had leased it to grow mint on it had kind of put a lot of chemicals and hurt the land and hurt the soil. And so for a long time, I mean, that was 30, 40 years ago, but for a long time it laid dormant and did not grow much at all and would have big bald patches and just needed time to heal.
Okay.
And um, in in 2019, when I was awakening to coming out of my sleep life, and knowing that I needed to wake up, and that there was more for me out in the world than just the to and from work every day and sleeping through my life. I mean, I was doing a lot, but I was like I was still asleep, and so as I was waking up, I a big part of my work was dream work, and I was getting a lot of messaging, and one of them was very specific in it was slow down. It was a little bit more vulgar than that. Slow the F down, Natalie. So it was like, slow down and plant seeds. And it showed me the land. And so I approached my grandparents who still owned it. And we arranged that I would buy the land from them. And and so now I've bought all of my grandparents' land, and we live there with my grandmother lives still in her house, and we built a yurt, and we live in a yurt on the land.
Okay.
Um, and the farm is growing. So we have chickens that are pasture raised and organic, and we process like chickens for meat as well as eggs. And we rotate them around the land to
Yeah.
one fertilize the land to keep it active, to add more nutrients, to heal it, and we move them so it's sustainable for the whole land. We move them like almost every day. Well, in the winter we pause and we have them in one place, but in the summer we move them all over the place. And I had sheep as well that we moved every day. We've sold that herd, and we're getting a new herd in this spring, of a different type of sheep that will work a little bit better for the land that we're on.
Yeah.
And but the biggest piece of this is what Nettles had told me to do,
Okay.
is this idea of a really large medicinal herb garden. And what it is it's a big 3 acres of the land is being turned into a spiral that is yeah, that is it's hugelkultur. So I had been for 2 years I'd been collecting like limbs and logs from different arborists. They would drop them. I had these huge piles of just like debris, that they would drop on my property, because you create a layer of like logs and different decaying like wood, and you
Yeah.
put that down first, and then you flip sod upside down, and then you put dirt and then compost, and it builds it up into this big mound. And in the center of, it's hard to explain, but in the center of the spiral, there's like an open space about 55 feet in diameter. There's a big open circle. And then the spiral itself starts, the mounds, when they are, right now they're about 5 feet tall, and I have a couple more layers of soil to put on. So they'll be about 8 feet tall, and just a huge mound of earth that is going to be growing all medicinal herbs on it. And it will spiral out. Mm-hmm. And get shorter as it goes to the very end. So it'll slowly go down and be shorter and be a smaller mound. Nice. But brilliant. And it will spiral many times in that because it's 3 acres. I mean, it's going to be relatively large. Yeah. So right now we have the inner spiral completed with the logs and the sod and the first layer of dirt, and it's sitting dormant for the winter. And then as soon as spring comes, we'll put the compost layers, the really rich soil layers on top, and plant this spring for the first section of the spiral, and then we'll build it out as we go. But when it's complete, and even now, to walk the spiral is a meditation. So not only will we be growing our own medicinal herbs, but as you step into the spiral, it is a meditation. It is a connection. The Fehu farm, my bind rune that is the symbol of it, is all about the Fehu, which is the rune for like rebirth and abundance and Freya, and it has that really beautiful rebirth quality, but also abundance from hard work. It's like
fertility, really.
The what? Like fertility. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Fertility. Mm-hmm. But also that fertility that happens after death too. It's like that, it's that rebirth cycle, that beautiful fertility that happens when something has died, and you can compost it and transition into rebirth, Yeah. So it's right. That idea. And then the other rune that's on the other side of it is Anzu, which is it's the connection, the communication with the divine. So it's this idea that it's, as you step in, not only is it a process of rebirth or birthing yourself as you're spiraling in, but it's also this connecting deeply to where you are and what's around you, and that communication with the divine. So as you walk the spiral, like which herbs did you just have to go touch? Which ones did you smell? Which ones reached out to you and called to you? And why? And what is it? What message did they have? Because they do, as you're walking along, there'll be hundreds of different ones, but you'll only really notice a few, really pay attention and have to go touch one. And then you make note of it and you say, okay, well, what messages does this spirit have for me? And you can learn more about them and meditate with them. And so the walking of the spiral in itself is a journey inward and a journey into connection. And so that's the idea that's the dream that came out with nettles that I had been ruminating, and it had been up here, but I could not bring it down into my body. And now it takes time, and I'm learning to listen to divine timing better, because I have my own ideas of when this should be done and when it should be around and how I should do it. But then all of a sudden an opportunity to open a wellness collective pops up, and so things pause, and the energy comes this way. But this actually is exactly as needed, so that I could really immerse myself back in the community and be able to give back, so that I can connect and find more ways to connect with people before I'm bringing them into this sacred process later when it's ready, And so it's like, okay, I see it. Yeah. I'm stepping through in faith rather than fear of being too late or this or that. There's so many, like I'm always telling myself, you're never late to your own life. This is your soul journey. And like, there's, whatever obstacles, whatever pauses happen, um, uh, create a lesson for your soul. Like it's your life. We're not late to it. We are just here. And now is the moment to step into whatever is being called to you, and that's okay that you might have thought you should have done it years ago or whatever.
I know, but it's the same with everyone, is it? When 0 to 100, get to the end result as quick as possible. But there's a journey, isn't there,
There
all the way
is.
through? And it is that journey that we have to learn to just flow and
Yeah.
work through the things that come along. And you
Yeah.
see the process as you do it, don't you? Rather than just trying to get to that end thing just because you've got a vision, but it's the journey to get to the
It
vision.
is. I know. I thought for sure the spiral would have already been built by now,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
But
But it'd be amazing. Think of all those people you would have connected with to bring
yeah,
that too. Because if you did it from just creating that bit, you wouldn't have had all those people that to come there and
yeah.
do it. You just would have had a spiral. No,
I
you've
know.
got
I
those
would have had, yeah.
people.
Yeah. And also there's, as much as you can be given your path, there's still a process to grow into it as well. And I needed to learn how to hold space for women and for people in general. And I still had a lot of growing into that to do. And so the the it's interest like that is my lesson this year. I think really I've been being over and over again, I've been shown that like the divine timing and the stepping through in life with faith and not fear, because there's really not room for both, not truly, you know not if you want to live your whole life, your full life, your present life. Like there's not room to step forward in fear and faith. Like it's either or sometimes
Fully
that
in.
fear makes it so
Yeah.
you don't step forward at all.
Yes. Yeah.
Jumping into a business like last year that I had not planned. A
Mhm.
year ago today, I didn't know this was going to happen, like this piece of it, I didn't know, but it was made for me. Like these apothecary shelves were built by the person before me who decided to only stay here for 3 months
Right.
and then left. She built it for me. She like really, it was one of those moments when I drove up here and saw that someone had an herbalist and a healer had come into this space, and I had never even noticed it really. Like maybe I thought, oh, that's a cool space here, but I was coming up to see my business partner at the yoga studio, and I drove up and I see this shop here, and I was like, and at the time I didn't even know my business partner very well. Like I had only met her once. And I drove up and my heart just went, ugh, because I was like, I'm supposed to do that. I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to do that. Now it's like I felt like I missed my opportunity, like I knew that I was supposed to be here in this space. And at the time I thought, oh, I missed my window to like create that. I've been focusing on the wrong thing or whatever it was, like whatever the thought process that came through at the time. And then no kidding, a month later, I get a photo through the window and everything had been taken out in the middle of the night. She had completely left in the middle of the night and still had a 2-year lease that she needed to figure out what to do with, and just couldn't be here anymore because of other things. And then I was able to just smoothly step right into this place where I was supposed to be. Yeah. And it was wild the way that like spirit prepares you for things and prepares the way for you if you have eyes to see and ears to hear,
If you're open, yes, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just it's such a beautiful thing to know that and to step through in faith that I'm not late to my own life no matter what, like this is my journey. And 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 yes, I can feel those deep soul callings. Like when I drove up and saw this here, I was like, oh, that is a soul calling. And what in the world? Like someone else is in that space. But then it was just being prepared for me, like really that's what was happening. It was, there was soul lessons in someone else that end up preparing it for me. And that's how this beautiful web works. Like there's so many intricate little moments in life that prepare us for our next steps and our next pieces of our journey.
Yeah, well, sometimes they're not positive, are they, as well?
No, they're not. They're
Yeah, and
not.
these
I mean,
things line up, but I always see that myself, like this is lining you up for your next thing. This is preparing you for what's
yeah,
coming next. If you learn the lesson from it, I guess. And like
yeah,
you say, if you step forward in faith that there's something more for you, something better coming for you. And there's no age thing on this and no time thing because
no.
there isn't. So it's just trusting that you'll get where
Yeah,
you're to be and you'll be shown and guided and end up where
yeah,
you're supposed to be. Yeah, it's amazing when you just give up control that everything's got to be a certain way
yeah,
and just go with the flow. Do you
yeah.
think then that you've been a shaman in a past life?
Oh yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. I mean, I did. So we were talking earlier about my time in Glastonbury, and
Yeah.
when I was walking the very first day I was there, we were taken on this tour
Yeah.
by the people that owned the Airbnb we were renting. They just were like, "Hey, do you want us to walk you around?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." So they walked
Yeah.
us around everywhere. It was hours, so we didn't get home till night. It was wonderful, and they were amazing. Um, but as we were walking down the street that goes in between the White Well and the Red Well, um,
Yeah.
the Chalice Well, I was like hit in the chest with this memory of floating in the waters in the dark underground kind, I guess. It was like this, I was floating in the waters and it was there in this space, and I had to fully surrender control to go through that initiation that I was going through. There was like this need to just full surrender. And it was this overwhelming knowledge that I had gone through an initiation process in the waters, and I'd floated through an underground cavern or something. I'm not even sure. And when I came up, there was this beautiful woman who grabbed my hands and helped me out of the water and said, "Welcome, sister." And it was just this like amazing moment of knowing that I was part of something so much bigger at some point in one of my lifetimes that was there, and in this, and I had never experienced anything like that before.
Wow.
It like knocked me down. I was still so early on in my awakening process, like of anything like that. I had never had any type of past life remembrance or anything, and it just came on me so randomly. It was like I was walking over a space where I had been or something, and like putting your feet on the soil, and these places sometimes can just like send these remembrances back up into you.
Yeah, I
And
said to
so,
you earlier, didn't I? There's different places around the world that represent the chakras, and Glastonbury is the heart chakra. So there's
yeah,
something there that needed to awaken within you, so you could lead from the heart, basically. Sometimes
yeah,
it's as simple as that, isn't it? And that's what you
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's like this heart-centered,
Yeah.
heart opening
That was only a
space.
few years ago, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was only a few years ago. I mean, I really, my journey started in like 2019, really, I started having I had a few prep moments and of like doing a meditation where I actually was, it was at this like business workshop thing that I was at, but this beautiful man came and did this meditation where we went in and like saw ourselves. Like you really just strip away all of the earthly things. And I saw myself for the first time, that beautiful soul that lives inside. And there was this recognition of like, oh, hi, like, who are you? But it was small because there was so much distraction in life and so many, I had two businesses, a 4-year-old and, and a husband who was not well. And we didn't really know how sick he was at the time, but he was not well. And then later in the fall, it became more apparent that he was really not well. And that was a time period where there was multiple things that led me up to like a bigger awakening, but the most random thing was my activation words. I was watching some like Facebook post from a mom from my from my kid's school, and she mentioned maiden mother crone, and it sent electric shocks through my system. And it was like, what is, and it just like, it seriously was like I had paddles on my, and it just like woke me up. It was this, and I went on this wild chase of finding information and like, all these down all these rabbit holes to try to like learn and figure out why this affected me the way it did and what was calling to me. And, read so many books and went through a big process. And in that time period, as I was being asked to wake up and I was given an activation code that I know was already pre-programmed into me, to be able to accept it. And I think they come through our lives, and there's moments when you choose to accept or not. I think there's opportunities as you go along in life to when it's time, that these like pre-programmed activation codes are just given to you, like prepared for you. But so it was preparing me to be able to step more fully into life, because my husband was really sick, and it was like it was going to be a different life no matter what, whether he made it through or he didn't. My life had to shift. I couldn't be asleep anymore. I couldn't just be running to and from and work and school and all the things, just like I was just constantly just moving and trying to like go, work, all the things. And I just
being on the hamster wheel, isn't it? Just do whatever you need to do, keep going.
And I mean, I was very fortunate as well to be in the position to have really amazing employees that I could then promote to do a little bit more, so I could step back. Like I was prepared. I was blessed as well to be able to like have this opportunity to try to like slow down a little bit when I was being asked to slow down, slow that down, Natalie. And so that next spring, my husband did pass away. And like you said, they're not always easy. These transitions, these activations, these moments that shift you in a different direction are not always beautiful and easy. Sometimes they're very hard. And, but I was given the most amazing blessing of knowing, of being connected at the time and hearing and seeing the patterns and knowing deeply that it was a rebirth for not only him, but for me as well in this whole process. Like I was given so many signs by spirit that this was our both of a rebirth for both of us, and that our soul paths were needing to part in, but that it doesn't, but there's no true end to, you know what I mean,
Yes.
to any of it. And
Yeah.
and that like our soul contracts were, his soul contract here was done, and he had other things he needed to do. And it just so happened to be that he passed away like what, 4 days before everything shut down for COVID, you know, like so it's like, so he was being asked to step into something, and he did not pass away from COVID, but he was being asked to be there and to like step into something different, and to he needed to be somewhere else at the time, you know, like his soul path was done here.
Yes.
And now, and 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 as hard as life can be, it is also so beautiful. I mean, on the day that he passed away, it was the very last full, it was the last full moon of winter. And so coming through on from every angle was all of this like rebirth, the last full moon of winter, and then it's like spring and life and growth. And it was a sunny day, and we played outside on the swing. Like my kid and I were outside just being joyful and beautiful and present we were so present there. And there was hawks flying over the house, and there was just these messages coming from, there was, we had morning doves show up, and they were cuckooing, and like, you know, and it was just like the most beautiful and tragic as well, you know, but also this like this, so it's like this knowing that I would be supported in life, and that I was awakening to something new for a reason, and that like it was needed, and it was also a rebirth. So that's a huge part of why I use the Fehu symbol as well.
That is such a amazing way to think of things. So many people go down a rabbit hole of being a victim, and you know, and can't see a positive out of something. So that is amazing how you actually look at that. And you must sense him around you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And like, and he had his troubles, and you know, and so now it's like he can be free from this mortal life that wasn't the easiest for him in his, you know, and so it's a beautiful rebirth for both of us. Yeah. And then like, you know, at the time my kiddo was 5, so my little boy was 5, and so it's like it's a process, and I lost my father when I was 8, so there's a pattern there, and there's a preparation of my soul to step into this, being raised knowing, I knew that a mother could raise children on her own, because my mother stepped in and raised 3 children, and I only had 1, you know. so
yeah, there's definitely a generational pattern going on there that you might want to look into at some point.
Yes, no, definitely. There is a generational, there is a pattern. I recognized it instantly.
Yeah.
And I see the pattern, and my mother talked about it.
Do you know if that went back further, if that happened before your mum?
Not with, no, she was the first one. Yeah.
There's not someone that did it skip a generation?
Well, there was a great aunt who lost her husband. She didn't have any children. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I mean, I could look into it a little bit more to
Yeah.
see
Sometimes
to
you have to
see
do the
where.
generational clearing. It's some of the things I do. That's why I
Yeah.
recognised it as a pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a pattern there, and something needs to be resolved going back. So you have to go back and have a look and see
Mm.
where it
To see
stems
where it
from
started. Okay. All
and
right.
rectify the situation. I mean, I'm doing it simply here for the benefit of people listening, but yeah, it is involved, but you can go back and try and sort it and stop it from happening again, and
Yeah.
heal whatever that was that caused it in the first place.
Yeah.
I did have spirit with me when I first tuned in with you, as it happens. It was a
Yeah.
man. I didn't know you lost your husband. I didn't know. I did go in, but I was trying to listen as well as listen to you, what was actually being said. So what was actually being said to me was that you should write a book.
Oh my gosh. Oh dear. He was a writer, so of
Oh,
course, like
there you go.
he was,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Uh,
we're waiting on that then for you to write a book. And it is meant to be about your herbs. And I think you probably should put your journey in there as well, but it is
yeah.
fundamentally as a book for
Mm.
you to write about what you do in your herbs and how they help people and move on. And I'm told that's going to be a really good thing for you. So you might want to
Okay.
think about it.
All right, all right. I can, I will hold that in my heart and find the divine timing for it. Yes.
Interesting. He was a writer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he wasn't like a published writer, but he was a poet and a writer, and yeah, he was a beautiful writer. Journaled every day, wrote everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do that? Did you journal?
Not really. I do sometimes, but it's always been something that's been a hard pattern for me to maintain. Even when I was a kid and writing letters to friends, my my mind would, and maybe this is something that, like, as I'm speaking, I see the pattern. As I'm speaking it out, I'm like, oh, I guess I could just work with this to help me like process through that. um, but as I like when I would write letters, it would be a letter from four different people, like even every time I picked up my pen, what I was writing about and my handwriting would change. Like it was,
Oh, well,
it
that's
was
called
this.
channeling here.
I guess I
I'm
didn't.
really excited
I
to
guess I
see how
didn't
your
realize that
path
it was.
unfolds now. Really, now you're telling me this stuff.
I have been asked. I've been just in the last few days. I've been thinking about the way to journal and the way that would work for me. And I think the way I'm going to do it, and because I really have been thinking about it the last like 2 days, which is interesting. Of course I have been. um but it's a question and answer. I write a question down and I wait for my spirit for greater, all of it, to answer that question in and hone it in answering it from love and not from fear. And and like it's a practice of how do you answer yourself in love? How do you step forward
Have you
every
tuned
day?
in with your spirit guides?
Some, yeah.
Yeah, well, they'll be the ones that will give you the messages back.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Um you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just let them ask their questions. I do it every day.
I mean, and even my herbs, like
Yeah.
I ask them questions all the time and they give, so it is like, so there is this whole pattern of like, I think it's a question and answer is how I will have to, that's how I'll be able to organize myself to be able to do a journaling or a writing of some kind, because otherwise, otherwise I'm flitting over here and there.
Wow. Are you going to hold retreats on your what should I call it? Shall I call it a farm? What do you call it? Your
It's a
space?
farm. I yeah, I mean it's a farm. It'll be I think the eventually it'll be called like the Spiral Garden Project, and it may even turn into like nonprofit that we create spiral gardens around. That was part of a message that came through too. That might be a future where it's like gathering community and in communities to create smaller versions where people can go and have free medicinal medicine like at their fingertips, you know, and like yeah. So like so there's that piece. But yeah, so the farm. I mean, we call it the farm.
Yeah. Why not?
Yes. Yes, it will be a place for community. It
Yeah.
will be. In the vision I was given, it'll be some type of structure in the four directions. We already have two little sheds over there. I was given my little a little shed for that was my apothecary until this opened up.
Yeah.
And we put another one over there, and then but there'll be a building around, there'll be four buildings around the spiral that will be energetically to the directions, you know. And so right now I really only know that in the north there'll be a little A-frame. I know that. So that one's come through really clearly and is the first one that's being asked to be built. So yeah.
Oh. Do you
Yeah.
work with the four directions at the moment?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a we have a monthly women's circle that we created here. And it is a beautiful thing to show people the power of calling in the directions and setting a circle and just being very present with that and letting them tune into those energetics as we go along, because it's something new to most of them, and it's the most lovely thing to start bringing that into the community. And yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do some online stuff as well, you were telling me earlier, weren't you?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
around the moons that you do it?
Yeah. Well, so the I will be relaunching a monthly gathering for plant spirit meditations, for plant spirit communication. And so the idea of it is to learn a little bit each month about a medicinal herb or a plant spirit, or maybe a couple of them that are in that fit with the season, that are present in our lives, or could be present in our lives now, and you can work with them on a deeper level. So it's not only just a one-time meeting, but it's also there's little journeys you can take throughout the month, and little projects to help deepen your connection with the herbs and to learn more about them. So not only is it like learn their medicinal qualities, but also learn their energetic qualities. And it's a live Zoom that we do once a month, and then I have other recorded little things throughout the month for lessons, or for how to prepare these herbs, or like little ones like that. And then we gather via Zoom, but it is also recorded, so the time zone
Yeah, it's
is usually in the evening, so it may be in the middle of the night or really early in the morning for you all. But it's something that you can come back to whenever it makes sense. And I also offer remote or distance Reiki sessions as well with the plant spirit medicines, and that includes a Zoom call as well, like where either it can be recorded and you can take the time to watch it when you want to, or you can join in live, and basically I call in the spirits of the herbs that are present for you, but then we work in in that Reiki field of infinite energy. And distance does not matter at all. And it's a lovely way to clear out old things and make room for new. And it's a lovely way to rebalance our energy centers. And I have a 3-part series that I introduced for January, since so many people are trying to like shift their lives at this time of year. So it's like a 3-part Reiki session where the first one is all about clearing and making space and moving old out and creating space for new. And then there's like homework you have to do. And then the next week, it is all about balancing what is there and calling and creating a magnetism, creating a coherence to what you're desiring to bring into your life now that you have this extra space and have made room. And then the third visit is it's the integration and the little cleanup, because there's always little ties that we have a hard time letting go of. And so I call it like the integration and cleanup mode. So it's kind of this like honing of everything and really finding what is being asked to be fully embraced, so that those like homework assignments in the middle help you clarify what have I truly let go of. And it helps that process, because the Reiki can continue on, and it can be working in you for a long period of time, especially with older patterns that we have a harder time releasing. And
they don't know that they need releasing, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a really lovely, those are the offerings that are online. And then here, if anyone is watching in the States, we do a lot of local little things that are really lovely.
Everything's on your website, isn't it? So all the links down. And you said you're more active on Instagram.
I am a little bit more active. I am a little bit more active on Instagram than I am on Facebook. I just started being back on. I had taken a break for a couple of years from Facebook and didn't do much on there. So I'm back on there because it is a beautiful platform where I feel like you do get more community. You get a little bit more community like outreach and interaction, and it's easier to reach people in that way. But I'll put both of my links on there.
Yeah. We'll put everything on underneath this video anyway, okay. And you're on my group, so I can tag you so people can find you easily anyway.
Yeah. I'm not very good at social media. I just
oh, am I?
I'm not all that great at social media. So there is that piece, but just
you do answer your emails, don't you?
Yes, I answer emails for sure. Yeah. And I get a ding on my phone anytime someone says something on my website. So there is that. But I will, any of the messaging on Instagram, I'm just not very good at posting what I'm doing.
Oh, I see.
I'm so present in it. Like I answer if anyone reaches out on any of the social media, that I'm fine on.
Yeah.
It is actually sharing what I'm doing in my daily life. I'm so present in the moment that we had a whole entire gathering the other day where I did this beautiful elixir bar and I didn't take one picture, not one.
I do that sometimes. Yeah. You get so engrossed in what you're doing, you forget that you need to take pictures and stuff, don't you, to share what you've done. And you're just
okay. Yeah. I mean, it did happen. And the people who are present there, are there, and it was fine. And I'm glad that I can be very present in those moments, but it doesn't help if I'm trying to share on social media.
So before we go, I would like you to tell me if somebody's suffering from, there seems to be a lot of anxiety going on at the moment. Maybe it's a leftover from the lockdown or just life in general. if there was something that they could do, perhaps to connect, to help themselves, is there a herb or a flower or something you can recommend that people could use to
Yeah.
try and tune in with and help themselves?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I I love to start with the nourishing herbs. But so you can start in with nettles to bring yourself into your body more. You can start by building up with oat straw. Oat straw is a nourishing herb that is a very subtle, beautiful nervine that helps settle the nervous system. Um, but then you can move into something like passion vine or passion flower, which I see her when I meditate with her. She's like this. The last time she came to me and it was in the jungle and she was this black panther and she crawled up on me, laid on my chest and just started purring. And it was like this sensual, like, because it's a it brings you, it doesn't dull your body senses. It's a sensual herb, but it's also that vibrational purring, of a cat but it was like this, it was this big cat, so it was like that calming sensation of this like weight on you, but that purring and that vibration, but yet an embodied. So it's like we often want to escape our bodies or escape, out of things. But often like anxiety is telling us that something is misaligned. So as we bring ourselves more into our body, but in a calm, subtle way. So it's a nervine as well. So it helps settle the nervous system. But as we become more embodied, we can see the patterns that are in our lives that don't belong, that are causing the anxiety or the piece. Now it may not be easy to shift, things are not things are not always easy to shift, but that's an herb that can help you. And if you call her in her spirit to help you calm yourself and settle your spirit back into your body to where you're not out here and trying to escape this life or whatever you're in, or because as you become less attached to your body, sometimes that creates even more anxiety because you're not fully in, and there's not a your physical body can sense that you are not there as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
anxiety is living in the past. There's something there that's still playing out, that's a memory or a feeling or something from the past, and their system is recognizing it. It's still playing out, so they're living in that fear or flight mode or whatever you want to call it. So that's how I look at it. There's still something going on that they haven't dealt with, and they need to look back. Like you said, like could be a pattern going on there. They haven't realised that it is. But from what you're saying, do they need to make it so they can drink it, or do they just need to get what you're telling them to get, which is a flower or something, and just
okay. So passion vine is it's a dried herb. So yes, there's flowers, but also the vine part of it. So it's passion flower, passion vine. They're called both things. You can make a tea out of it. You can get a tincture. You can get the dried herb and make a tea and mix it with chamomile or some other lovely, yummy ones that would be like a calming one. Any teas, if you go to an apothecary and ask for nervines, a nervine
for one here now.
I know. Yeah, a nervine tea. Then they probably will have one. There's also, there's lots of different ways because it does depend on what the anxiety is coming from. If it is something past and replaying, that might be something to dive deeper in and move some of that out. So you might want to combine it with something like burdock. And if it's something like current in life that you that you're in a situation that you don't feel you can get out of. I think a lot of times that it's like that help, like for me, it's a pattern of like knowing your life isn't where you're like, when your soul is recognizing that you're not where you need to
meant to
be,
be. Yeah.
but yet you're too scared to make the moves. Not scared, like there's fear there, or you don't feel empowered enough to make the moves that you need to make to be able to shift your life in the direction. It's your soul. I feel like it's sometimes your soul calling out saying, hey, things aren't quite in balance right now, and how do we find that balance? And then there's also the physical things. There's also the environmental things. There's the pesticides on your food that then cause imbalances in your gut. So there's external, there's like physical things as well. There's the different ways that different foods, or even mineral, like the way I know that your food system is over there is better than ours, which thank you. I'm so glad. Yeah, I think
we might expect to differ on that.
I think it is a little bit
Is
better
it?
than ours. In the way that the agriculture is treated and everything. But there's sometimes you're being asked to look at what you're bringing in to your body as well, and what's being what you can process and what you can't, like, so there's the physical, and that might be emotional and physical in what you're bringing in. So there's so many different balances in there, but becoming more embodied and paying attention to your rhythms, and when is this anxiety coming forward, and what is your, what has been happening the few days before, not only what have you been eating, but also what has been occurring, and what are those patterns that are coming forward. Because I think maybe it's actually and instead of or, it's probably and a pattern from past, and you recognizing it in your current, you know what I mean? So it's like, so probably there's probably a lot of and instead of or.
Yeah, it just seems to be a lot of people with anxiety at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it the same there? Do you have that there?
Oh, it is, yes. That there, I think as we're shifting in whatever timelines we're in right now, there's so much uncertainty, and there's so many different perspectives that it's so hard to know what is true, and I think that creates an anxiety in people of like not knowing what is true, and not having a grounded perspective to be able to step forward in faith, and because that's your roots, your rootedness and your support system, without creating like really grounded roots, it is really hard to step forward in faith, and or to like trust the information that you have, and not listen to what you don't need to listen to. And we're bombarded with information now, way more than we need to ever process in a day, but yet we're also more stagnant now in our physical body. So it's this combination of bombarded with information and more stagnant in our physical bodies, to where we have this like natural karmic energy that we have every day to like, use in this world. And we are not able to, go and use it and like work hard in the land and or whatever it is, like, work it out of our systems, work that energy out so it builds. And then we also get so much information coming in that it's like swirling up here, and we end up living in this up and out instead of down and in world. And so that's why I like the herbs that can help bring you down and into your body, because I think when you can use your body as your truth sensor, as your filter, to like say, oof, I don't need to like partake in that bit of information at all anymore. Like you use as you're more grounded in your body, and you can come out of the swirling thoughts and that pattern, that looping pattern. Oh, another herb that can really help if people are in anxiety and they get in a looping pattern in their thought processes where it's this like goes around and around and around is skullcap.
Okay.
Skullcap is by its name, it's a flower as well, but by its name, it like creates a little like you yeah, you drink it as a hot tea, but you want to make sure that you don't have the water boiling. You let it come down from a boiling for a minute or two before you pour it on, because then it will really give that sedative effect on the brain and really settle it down. In my tea blends for people who have trouble sleeping because of their thoughts, I use skullcap a lot because it just helps to just create a little blanket on there of like, no, you don't need to be up in here. You can go move back down into your heart and into your body and have that down and in motion rather than up and out.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think because once they get themselves really anxious and stressed out, that the sleeping starts having a problem there, don't they? They start eating the wrong things, maybe drinking. It has such a big knock-on effect. There ends up more and more symptoms to try and resolve.
Yeah.
But I think
and drinking and eating the wrong foods can create an energy leakage in a way that is like is detrimental to your anxiety levels as well, because it creates this depletion of your vital forces, of like, rather than nourishing.
We call it frequency. Your frequency just doesn't it, deplete. Well, that's why I think having a sense of community is really helpful, whether it's online or whether it's physical. I think that is so needed now, because even though we can connect like we do, like social media and all of that, they say nobody's really doing anything anymore. They're just looking and scrolling and whatever. They're not really getting a proper connection with people nowadays. And I mean, I can't do some of those fast looking ones like TikTok and all of that.
I can't do TikTok either.
It's too much for my brain. I can't cope with it at all. I'm not very good on social media. I just do my thing. I don't really look at anybody else's stuff or whatever, because unless it comes up in front of me, I might look at it, but I don't do a lot of the scrolling and all that. My brain can't process too much of that stuff. It's like overwhelming for me. But I can't be the only one that has that problem, that sees it like that. Does it affect you that way?
Yeah, especially TikTok. Well, and it's just too, and that's why I took time away from Facebook, even just because it was too much for me. I would go to my specific groups that I was a part, and that's why I do like that, because you can create a group community that is, there and just for that. And it does create a more of a community feel to it. But I find it also like, it feels like it sucks a piece of my soul out, like the time suck. I call it that. Like, occasionally I'll accidentally click on a video and then I'm stuck in there, and it feels like this. I have to like peel myself out of it, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. That's why TikTok is. I did not allow myself. I tried. Someone sent me one once, so I went and created an account, and then I think it like, just looking through it, all of a sudden an hour was gone, and I was just trying to explore what this thing was, and I was like, no, this is not for me. I don't have time to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. I have an account. I do have one. I did start doing
I have an account too. I just don't have it logged in, and I don't.
Instagram, I just put a few things up on there. I should really learn how to use that properly, but I don't. But obviously my YouTube, that's more my thing at the moment. I'm on YouTube quite a lot anyway. I prefer to watch videos on there than watch mainstream TV or anything like that. So that's like my go-to. But I don't find that overwhelming, because I just find things that interest me and then I watch them. If I'm studying something as well, it's quite useful to go there to see what other people think and opinions and things. But
definitely.
Yeah, but I love my little group that I have on
yes,
people so in
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been lovely to just explore it a little bit in this last week or so.
Yeah, that's been going a long time, that group has. And so I
Yeah.
do
Oh,
know quite a lot of the people that are on it, and they pop up every now and again and like something or say something. I go, oh my God, I forgot about you. Like
oh,
the remembrance of like how I said. So it's
yeah.
always really nice if they do like and comment and whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's good for some things. But if I didn't have to use social media to interact, I probably wouldn't if I could
Yeah.
find a way of doing it, but it seems to be the way that we all connect at the
I
moment.
know. And there is a balance there. There is a beauty to it, and if you have good boundaries with it, then you can create a healthy relationship with it. So it's just it is a boundary thing, I
It
think.
is, yeah. Takes up too much time, doesn't it? Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
well,
Yeah, or like having it so you're not present with your family or where
yeah,
you're at because you know what I mean. So it's like it's a matter of like balancing being able to be present and being able to to also have this beautiful tool to connect with people from all, like I would have never met you.
yeah. We wouldn't have had this conversation otherwise, would we? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's lovely.
yeah. Using it rather than like sitting with your family, being on it all the time is a different
Yeah. Yeah.
altogether.
Finding your balance in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's been
Mhm.
wonderful talking to you. I feel
Yes,
like
thank
I've learned
you.
quite a bit. I'm really looking forward to your book coming out. Can you get on with it, please?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that makes me so nervous, which means it's probably something I need to process through.
I bet you can do it really quickly. I've written books or myself, and when you get into a subject and you like your subject, you can get through it quite quickly. You can,
Yeah.
yeah, you can just do them. I don't think you'll have any trouble doing it at all. I think it's just giving you something else to do now.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Oh,
please send me over all your links so I can
I
pop them
will.
below so people can connect with you and see what
Yes.
you do. And also, if there's anything that you've got online as well, if you want that put in a link, send that to me as well. And I'll just
Okay.
add everything up and tag you in it so everyone gets to see what you do. And there must be
Wonderful.
people watching that are in your area that,
Yeah, there will be. Yeah.
yeah,
I'll share
that can
all of
connect.
my groups here when it
Yeah.
comes out. And yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
brilliant. I would thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did too.
Great.
Thank you. This was lovely. A
Yeah,
beautiful way to spend the morning.
yeah. Right. With that, I shall log off and thank you again. It's been wonderful meeting you.
Yes, wonderful.